Hey, what's up? I got some more lore content for you guys. With the introduction of formats to the game, a good amount of decks have become unusable. If you don't know what this means, basically a lot of champions and other cards aren't playable in the standard format anymore. For a full breakdown of this concept, I recommend checking out my recent rotation guide. If you're a new player trying to get into the game, or a returning player that wants an easy to craft deck for standard, then this video is for you. I made 3 budget, easy to play, and powerful decks that are intuitive for new players to hop on and get that early lead over your opponents. These decks can be crafted using primarily commons and rares. There are a few epic cards to slot in, but I'll talk about what to replace them with in the meantime. As per usual, each deck code will be in the description below along with the Mobalytics links. Before I get into the video, if you're new, please consider hitting the subscribe button to stay up to date with my content. I also stream on Twitch often, so check me out over there if you're looking for live gameplay, and also consider visiting my Patreon if I've helped you at all during your lore journey. With that, I hope you enjoyed these beginner decks. And of course, we have the usual disclaimer, you won't be able to build these decks as is day 1 or anything. These are simply decks to build early and work towards as a new player while learning the fundamentals of the game. Most likely you will start with the default versions of these decks and then use the resources you get to refine them to the final versions I have in this video. And getting into the list specifically, we start off with Crimson Pigeon, a 1-mana 2/2. This is an epic card. I highly recommend replacing it with Precious Pet. Since this is a common, it's also an aggressive 1-drop. Put in 3 Precious until you can get your 3 epic wild cards, and then craft the Crimson Pigeon for this. So, support, deal 1 to my supported ally to grant me 1/1 permanently. Support just means you attack with this card on the left, and then another unit on the right. Crimson Pigeon will deal 1 to the next unit, and then give itself a +1/+1 boost. It's really nice because this can stack up and is a must-remove unit for the opponent to deal with. Really scary, especially when you get multiple attacks off with this thing. Next we have Jagged Butcher, a 1-mana 2/2. Plunder. A card triggers its Plunder ability when played if you damage the Nexus this round, so if you open with some damage and then play Jagged Butcher after, he will be a 3/3, so that's nice. He's just a 1-mana 2/2, can sometimes be a 3/3. Next we have Legion Saboteur, 1-mana 2/1. On attack call, deal 1 extra damage to the enemy Nexus. Really good at getting in some cheeky damage even if she's blocked. Next we have Watchful Idol, 1-mana 0/5 immobile. It cannot attack nor can it block. However, round start, deal 2 damage to me and spawn 1. So Watchful Idol will take 2 and then spawn a tentacle. So every time that a spawn happens, it buffs the tentacle by 1 more. So for example, if you have Watchful Idol on 1, and then open 2, tentacle will spawn and be a 1/1. If the tentacle stays, the Watchful Idol will proc again next round start and bring the tentacle up to a 2/2, so that's really nice. The other thing that this card is doing is actually ramping up our Swain. So Swain wants you to deal non-combat damage, so through skills, effects, stuff like that over the course of the game, and then he can come out leveled later. Watchful Idol helps with that a lot by dealing 6 to itself total, so that is really nice. If you open multiple Watchful Idols, Swain can just level off of like 2 idols, so that's really good. Next we have Triple Imperial Demolitionist. Since we are lacking Decimate now, we do need some direct damage. Demolitionist gets us there. Just 2 demos is Decimate, so 2-mana 2/2, play, deal 1 to an ally to deal 2 to the enemy Nexus. Really nice in the early mid game as well, like turn 3 onwards, to use demo and then get Jagged Butcher, the Plunder effect, so it's a nice little combo you can do, get some damage and also get a 3/3 body, and that helps push a lot of damage, you know, turn 3 through 5, really nice. Next we have Make It Rain, deal 1 to 3 different randomly targeted enemies and or the enemy Nexus. So it can target face, which is really nice at getting in 1 cheap damage, but it's also really good at just dealing with some really annoying units that the opponent can block with. Things like Conchologist, Pharaoh's Fondencier, you know, things that the opponent puts down early and tries to block you, you can just use Make It Rain and clear the board, and that's really awesome. Make It Rain can be used aggressively and defensively. Really good in aggro mirror matchups as well, because you can just push for the board and then get your units down after clearing the opponents. Next we have Mirai Warden, a 2-mana 2/1. When I'm summoned, summon a random 1-cost follower. Really good at just getting down multiple bodies and then using them to attack the opponent relentlessly in the early game. Really nice if you open multiple Mirai Wardens, by the way, because you just get to go wide very fast. Next we have a new card, 2 Pirouette. Slow speed, plunder, I cost 1 less. That will happen sometimes, but for the most part we're okay with playing this for 2 mana. Deal 1 to anything and stun an enemy. So like let's say the opponent has a 1 HP unit and then another unit, we can just lead the turn with Pirouette, killing one, stunning the other, and then putting us up, you know, 2 attackers essentially. So if we're going wide and we can also use Pirouette to slow down the opponent's game plan while also preventing them from blocking us, I mean, we're just in a really good spot, right? Pirouette is an insane card. Really, really good inclusion in the deck. Next, we have triple Iron Ballista, 3 mana 4/3, aggressively statted and has Overwhelm, so excess damage it deals to units will also hit the Nexus. That's really cool. So if we hit a 2 HP unit, we push 2 directly, and that is really nice, really aggressive. Really simple to play as well. Love Iron Ballista on turn 3 in case we don't get Misfortune. Speaking of Misfortune, when allies attack, deal 1 to all battling enemies and the enemy Nexus. Really good at getting in some cheap damage and also making it harder for the opponent to block our board. For her level up, it says, I've seen you attack 4 times. That's pretty much never going to happen. So don't think that we are a deck that wants to level Misfortune. We really don't. We just want to use her for her aggressive passive and her good stats in the early game. But if you do level her by some miracle, she has Overwhelm and deals 3 to the enemy Nexus, so that's really nice. Extra copies of her become Make It Rain, which is pretty relevant if you slam a Misfortune in the early game, and then you have Make It Rain plus another Make It Rain. You can just kind of clear the enemy board and keep up your aggressive play patterns. Next, we have triple Noxian Fervor. Deal 3 to an ally, deal 3 to anything. This is one of our only direct damage spells we still have, so this is going to be one of our game enders. When the opponent goes down to 3 HP, we can use Noxian Fervor to try to close out. It's really good as a reactive tool as well in case the opponent's trying to use removal. We can just send Noxian Fervor, pick an ally, send it into the face, or send it into an opposing unit. Really good, just overall card. Next, we have Eye of Nagakaboros, 5 mana, spawn 2, draw 2, so if we have a Tentacle, it will gain +2/+2. If not, we will, create a 2/2, and that's really nice. You can use this on, open attacks, so if you open and you have, 5 things on board, you can play Eye of Nagakaboros, giving you a 6th unit to attack with, and drawing some cards. And we have our second champion, Swain, 5 mana, 3/6, fearsome. Nexus Strike, deal 3 to the enemy Nexus, really good direct damage. So yeah, we're going to be using this normally a control champion for an aggressive purpose, which is really fun. He does have some synergy with the deck, and you do deal non-combat damage because, we're sending in a bunch of face damage with the Misfortune, with the Demolitionist, with the Watchful Idol hitting itself, so we can actually get Swain leveled pretty reliably and use him as a mid-game finisher. When he levels, he has Overwhelm as well, so if he does strike through something, he will get his Nexus Strike, deal 3 to all enemies and the enemy Nexus off, and it's just really crazy. He's basically almost a Decimate built onto his card. So yeah, he can be a really good mid-game pressure tool and even finisher for us here. Extra copies of Swain become Ravenous Flock, which isn't super insane. It is nice if you need to clear a blocker that has some damage on it already, and that's pretty cool, but yeah, not super relevant. And rounding out the list, we have 2 Leviathan, which is another epic. I highly recommend swapping it out for Barbed Chain for now, because this is just a good draw card to keep our cycle going, get into more direct damage, get into more units and stuff like that. But if you do have the epic cards, make sure to get the Leviathan, and again, to reiterate, make sure you get your Crimson Pigeon, and then this deck is super good. So yeah, Leviathan on summon draws you a Swain directly from deck. This is really good for consistency and closing out the game, turn 8 in case you're fighting a control deck and stuff like that. Round start deals 1 to the enemy Nexus twice, so if the opponent is living on 2 HP, you can just slam Leviathan, pass, and then round start, you will win the game, and that's really cool too. But yeah, basically, we want to use this as just a late game finisher. It comes out, gives you Swain, maybe Swain's leveled, Swain comes down, gets a strike in, and you can close out the game that way. Really nice little bit of a top end. You don't necessarily need Leviathan. Again, you can replace it with Draw or a third copy of Pirouette and play fully aggressive, but I do like it just because we are running the Swain anyways, and you can get into the mid and late game and not feel like it's doomed in case you're fighting a control deck, right? So it is really nice to have, especially at a 2 of. It doesn't break your hand too much. It doesn't clog your hand at all. It's just kind of nice to have. So I recommend crafting it if you do have the extra epics, or if you really just want to play this deck at full power. And that's it for the deck rundown. Now here's a live commentary game so you can see how it plays out. I'll be giving context to why I'm playing certain cards, and hopefully it gives you a good feel on how to play the deck. And for the example game, we have Zed Gwen. A little bit of a healing deck. They have Dragon Ambush, also Gwen heal, so this is a bit of a hard matchup, but we're going to try to push as much damage as we can and close out as soon as possible. So let's go ahead and keep Pigeon, and then we have Mirai Warden on 2, we could do Demo Butcher on attack 3, and this hand's just kind of keepable. We have 2 1-drops and 2 2-drops. That means we can play out our whole hand by attack 3, which is really nice, or we can just end up playing Ballista. We shall see. Let's go ahead and play the Pigeon first. Hopefully they do not have Boisterous. They do, so we have to pass. And then we'll play Mirai Warden on defense 2. Nice, we have Make It Rain. Yeah, let's go ahead and play Mirai Warden. This is really good. Oh my god. This is a high roll because if we kill something with Make It Rain, this will become a 3 attack, 3 HP, fearsome unit, which is really hard for the opponent to deal with. So probably next turn is going to be Make It Rain Butcher. Our hand just kind of like worked itself out. On top of having a strong mulligan in general, so this is nice. This is really, really good early game pressure. If they attack, we just block with the 2-1, and then we have really good next turn. Yep. We shall go ahead and block that. And then lead with Make It Rain, immediately getting the Sentinel play. This is probably really frustrating to see. The Sentinel's a high roll. And then we have another 3-3 coming out on attack turn 3, so gonna be a little hard to match. Yeah. We could probably go ahead and use Crimson Pigeon on the Butcher. So that way we have 3 attack units. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Looking really nice there. Zed sounds good. For the most part, I think we're going to ignore Zed and try to win on our next attack turn. We can even let him level, I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah, because we're just going to end up racing. Let's go ahead and take. That's a lot of damage. But I think that's relatively fine. Because what I want to do is Iron Ballista, Watchful Idol, Open Attack, and then play Make It Rain Demo. That should just be too much damage for them to block. Watchful Idol. Alright, so yeah, we're just going to do Open Attack, which means first action attack. We're not going to play anything, we are just going to send it. So let's use Crimson Pigeon, and we can hit the... Does it matter? Living with 1 HP doesn't really matter anymore, so let's go ahead and put our Jagged Butcher down to 1, and then swing with everything. We have a 4-4 Pigeon, a 3-attack Jagged Butcher, 3-attack Sentinel, 4-attack Overwhelm Ballista, 1-attack Tentacle, and that is just lethal on attack 5, with 3 damage in our pocket to spare. And for the next deck, we have another aggressive strategy. However, instead of burn, we're going to be using elusives. So if you like the idea of units that can't be blocked and also quick attack, then this deck is definitely up your alley. Starting us off, we have Fleet Feather Tracker, 1 mana 2/1. When you summon another ally, grant me Challenger. This is really good at contesting the board early, and we're also running an interesting combo called Young Witch. So Young Witch is a 2 mana card, support, give my supported ally quick attack and 1/0. So we can actually play Fleet Feather Tracker on defense 1, and then Young Witch on attack 2, which creates a Challenger unit that has quick attack and is really scary. So yeah, we can use this to get rid of some really annoying early game units or champions that the opponent is trying to play and start pressuring the board. Next we have Lucian, our first champion, 1 mana 2/1 quick attack, so he's pretty good in the early game. I've seen 4 allies or an allied Senna die. We are running Senna, so we may be able to kill her off and level our Lucian. When Lucian is leveled, he says each round, the first time an ally dies, rally. So if you go into the attack call and any ally dies, you get to attack again that turn. That's really good. Also on defense turn, if anything dies and Lucian sees it, you get to attack. So yeah, it's really, really scary, especially when you have a bunch of units that can't be blocked anyways, like elusives. And then you get to rally and rally again, and you're just pushing a lot of damage, right? So that's kind of what we're going for with this deck. That's the main theme. Set up elusives and attack multiple times in the same turn. So yeah, really, really good. Next we have Sparring Student, 1 mana 1/1. When you summon another ally, give me +1/+1 this round. So we want to set up Sparring Student as soon as possible and then play a bunch of units next to him. He's going to get really big. We can play Zed. Zed on attack will summon a Living Shadow, so that helps Sparring Student too. That's where some synergy is. We can also put the Darkened Fan on Sparring Student or on Zed, and he gets even more buffs, so that's really, really good. Sparring Student is an insane pressure tool that the opponent has to respond to and respect as soon as he's played. Next we have Form Up. Give an ally +2/+2 this round. This is like a do everything card. Since we don't have twin disciplines, nor do we have sharp sight, form up just kind of covers both, and we use this as our premier combat trick of the deck. It's going to be our main form of protection, and it's going to be our main form of winning combats. Really, really good card. Next we have Green Glade Duo, another immediate threat that the opponent must respond to. 2 mana 2/1 elusive, so can only be blocked by an elusive unit or some kind of card or effect that says they can block elusives. When you summon another ally, give me 1/0 this round. So setting up Green Glade Duo early is just as good as Sparring Student. Then you can get some turns later where we play a bunch of cards, and then Green Glade Duo is going to hit for like 6 or 7 by herself, and that's really scary. Next we have 2 single combat. An ally and an enemy strike each other. So this is for 2 main reasons. One is because we do play some healthy units like Badger Bear, and we can use single combat to control the board and try to keep things going in our favor. Another thing we can do is single combat our Senna. So Senna's a 4/2 unit, very aggressively statted. If Lucian is on the board and we do single combat Senna, Senna will die and that will level our Lucian for us. Basically being like a big tempo swing. You get to kill off an opponent's unit with single combat and you get leveled Lucian so you can start rallying. Really, really good combo. Next we have the Darkened Fan. So this is a weapon. Weapon works like this. You spend the mana and you can spend spell mana to equip it to a unit of your choice. The unit will then get the stats of the weapon. This is +1 attack, +0 HP, so it is a nice little +1 attack boost, and it has an effect on attack. Summon an attacking Dragonling, so that's really cool. We get an extra unit. This has synergy with the Green Glade Duo. This has synergy with the Sparring Student. We're getting an extra unit summon, and it also has lifesteal, so this is pretty good in the aggro matchups. That way you can just heal a little bit and be even more annoying. However, this card has another effect. You may spend 9 mana, so 9 real mana, no spell mana. You may spend 9 real mana to play me as Pra. So if we do get into the very late game and we really need like the last card to finish things up, we have Pra here for turn 9. A big 9-drop summon. On play or transform, summon 2 ephemeral copies, grant 1 lifesteal, 1 challenger, and me elusive. So this can be a 5 attack elusive. You get another 5/4 lifesteal, another 5/4 challenger, and you can just kind of like win over the board that way. If you do get into the late game, Pra might be able to clutch up for you. But for the most part, using it as the weapon equip is really good. Moving on to Young Witch. Like I mentioned earlier, really nice with Fleet Feather Tracker. It's elusive, so it can't be blocked. Really good at just getting some quick attack pressure in. That way you get to control the board and stay aggressive. Blocking Badger Bear, 3 mana 4/4. I can block units with elusive, so this is obviously really good if you're fighting Samira Fizz or any kind of elusive strategy and you want to block theirs. Blocking Badger Bear is good. He's also just a really big body. Really good to have in curve on 3. Scary unit. Senna, also like I mentioned earlier, really good with Lucian. The first time an allied Lucian dies, give me 1/1. So if you do play Lucian and then you play Senna and the enemy kills Senna, then Lucian levels. If the enemy kills Lucian, Senna levels. So you kind of create like a soft lock. The opponent has to deal with both at the same time. If they don't, then they have to deal with the consequence of having one of these on board. So yeah, they're both really good. Shadow Assassin. This is a very good utility card. It's a 3 mana 2/1 elusive. When I'm summoned, draw 1. So that's nice that it pays for itself. It gives you an extra card. This can be good to keep up the pressure. It can be a combat trick for protection. It can be your Darkened Fan for weapon equip. And you can just get to like extend your plays with Shadow Assassin. Really cool, especially if you open multiple and you're in the mid game, you just slam down, 2 of them, and then you have 4 unblockable damage and you're probably drawing into some more useful stuff. That's really nice. Really, really good all-around card. Our other champion, Zed. This is our main pressure tool and one of the main ways that we're trying to win the game. He's a 3 mana 3/2 quick attack. On attack, summon an attacking Living Shadow with my stats. So another dude that's going to copy his stats. So if you buff Zed first, then the Living Shadow will also be buffed. That's really cool. Level up, I've seen myself or allied Living Shadow strike the enemy nexus twice, which means the opponent is pressured to block him and or his shadows, and he has quick attack, so he's really good at controlling the board. The opponent has to pay the Zed tax and, send some chump blockers into him, unless they want him to level, which they don't. Because when he levels, he also summons a Living Shadow with his keywords. That way, if we give Zed anything like elusive, then the Living Shadow will also have elusive, which, plot twist, we can give Zed elusive, which is the next card. Fey Guide, 4 mana 3/4, grant an ally elusive permanently. We are looking to play Zed on 3 and then Fey Guide on 4 right after, and we have a really nice combo. It's really good to give Zed elusive, makes him even more annoying, and you can play around him even more reliably. And rounding out the list, we have Relentless Pursuit. It just says rally. You get to attack. So if you've already attacked, you get to rally attack again. If you're on defense turn, you get to attack. So really good, especially when you need to close out the game and you have a bunch of elusive units on the board. A potential replacement, if you want to be even more aggressive, is take out the single combat. If you're not really feeling the Senna combo with the Lucian, don't really want it, that's fine. You can get rid of single combat to run 2 Ghost. Ghost is temporary elusive for the turn, but it's 1 mana, so that's really nice at hitting, you know, Zed or something like that in case you need a little bit more elusive damage. Really good card overall. The other card that I would recommend is the 1-drop elusive guy. Navori Blade Scout can run a couple of him to get some aggression in the early game. He's good at comboing with the Sparring Student and also the Green Glade Duo as well, so really good cards. Highly recommend trying those if you're not vibing with the single combat. And that's it for the deck rundown. Now here's a live commentary game so you can see how it plays out. Alright, for the example game we have Deep, which is a pretty hard control deck, so they should be pretty decent into us. Let's see how fast we can push our damage. Let's go ahead and pitch the Seta, because we want to play Zed on attack 3. Probably the Relentless Pursuit can go away as well. I'm down to keep Green Glade and Zed. Nice, we have Lucian and we have Fake Guide, so 1, 2, 3, 4 all in our hand for us. So let's go ahead and play Lucian on attack 1. And also swing with him because he has quick attacks, so even if they played like Drake Dredgers, he'd be able to deal damage before getting damage back, meaning he kills. Which is overall really nice. So we're going to keep Lucian here as a pressure tool. Try to keep ramping up our units. Another Zed, that's really cool as well. Lower the depths, sure. Green Glade Duo. So this is a really nice setup. Now we're going to have Zed on attack 3, which means Duo is going to go up to 3 attack on the summon, and then 4 attack when we attack with our Zed, right? Because we're summoning a Living Shadow. So by herself, she's dealing, what, 1/5 the enemy Nexus? That's pretty nice. Look at that. Quick attack, elusive, quick attack, and we're leveling the Zed. They didn't block Jaw Hunters to the Shadow. So they probably are trying to plan on, I don't know, coming back somehow. They're at 6 HP already after turn 3. Can't get more aggressive than that. Deadbloom Wander. That is a nice heal for you, yeah? I think I want to do probably Young Witch in single combat, right?
Where'd she go?
So Jaw Hunters is going to swing into my Zed. That makes sense to me. Deadbloom is going to swing in general. We could probably give up the Lucian unless we think we can level him.
Where are you going?
How nice is Lucian level? Is that really relevant for us? I think it kind of is. So let's go ahead and do single combat Young Witch to Jaw. That's pretty nice. I like this. Let's try to go for Lucian level. It is quite interesting, but I do like this open attack. Oh, we have a rally as well. Yeah, it's just kind of over on turn 5 here. So Lucian will level after the Living Shadow dies. Stun? I don't think stun matters that much. Sure.
I'll sleep when they're dead.
So we level Lucian. If we could kill something off, we could rally, but we can also just play this and then win the game, I believe, right? Because Zed will attack,
Let's end this.
Living Shadow will die, and then we'll get to rally from Lucian. Look at this combo, it's so insane.
Not deny me.
If they had more HP, we'd still get another attack this turn. See? Because Lucian. Holy, what in the world? And the last deck I have for you is a bit slower. This is not a super aggressive deck like the last two were. This is Ashe LeBlanc. So Ashe as a champion is a card that you're given as your 7-day login bonus, so you definitely have to log in for 7 days to have any Ashes, right? Unless you want to craft her outright, but you do get a couple Ashe and you get some Shadow Isle stuff. However, we're going to take Ashe and go into Noxus because it's a very strong deck right now. This is probably the most meta of the beginner-friendly decks, so if you want to hop on and get a competitive deck and start climbing right away, this is going to be the direction that you want to go. So starting off, we have Brittle Steel. We're going to be frostbiting enemies quite a lot. Frostbite says set a unit's power to 0 this round. It can be changed after. So dropping an opponent's attack to 0 is really nice. We're just freezing them. Brittle Steel is 1 mana. Frostbite an enemy that's 3 or less health, so you have to be a little picky with your targets. Next we have Elixir of Iron, 1 mana +0/+2 burst speed spell. So this is really nice to outplay, you know, cheap and efficient damage spells like Mystic Shot. Just spend 1 mana and heal the amount of damage that it would do, and that's really good. So yeah, Elixir of Iron, really good protection that we can use on our units. We can also use it to win combat as well. Really tricky card overall, and it's really cheap. 1 mana is like really good. The opponent has to respect your 1 mana, right? Elixir of Iron could just come out and heal your unit or give your unit +2 health, and that's really scary. Next we have triple Omen Hawk. 1 mana 1/1. When I'm summoned, grant the top 2 allies in your deck +1/+1. So obviously you want to develop this right away. Then you start playing the buffed cards, and that gets your tempo going, gets your early and mid game pressure going. So yeah, Omen Hawk is really nice. You want to open 1 Omen Hawk, maybe 2 Omen Hawk. Hell, even open 3 Omen Hawk, and you're in a really good spot. You want to hit things like your challenger unit, you want to hit your champions, and you want to hit your draw card, which we'll talk about later. Next we have Ice Veil Archer, 2 mana 3/1, on play, frostbite an enemy. This is really nice because you can use this defensively, you can use it aggressively. We're leveling Ashe with frostbiting, so that's really good to do as much as possible. Overall, just a really good utility card. Glory Seeker, 2 mana 5/1, cannot block. So yeah, it's a very aggressively statted unit, however it can't block, so you can't use it to chump block things. You have to use it aggressively with Challenger, so you want to grab opponent's units that you want to kill, high priority targets, things like that. Of course, you can Brittle Steel or just Frostbite the enemy units in general, and that helps keep your Glory Seeker alive to do it again the next attack turn, and you try to control the board that way. It's a really good combo. You can also use Elixir of Iron in the early game to keep this thing alive, and also keep trading, keep killing your opponent's units, and keep being annoying. Next we have Double Flash Freeze, just Frostbite an enemy for 3, pretty nice. It doesn't matter how much HP they have like Brittle Steel, you just get to pick one and Frostbite them. This is really nice into like Fizz, by the way, because Fizz can only outplay fast spells and slow spells. He can't actually do anything against burst speed spells, so that's why Frostbite has really come up in the meta as a staple recently, because burst speed Frostbite is just a really strong mechanic. Next we have our first champion, LeBlanc. So this is a champion, you will have to craft her. You can replace her early with some Averosian Trapper. Honestly, not a bad replacement. Also a 3-drop, gives you a 5/5 Yeti to play, you know, in the next couple turns, so that's really good. If you don't have the resources for LeBlanc right away, replace her with Trapper, and then, you know, swap him out when you get the extra champion cards. But yeah, what LeBlanc does is pressure the board. She has 5 attack, which is really nice because we're playing a mechanic called Reputation, where cards cost less if 5 attack allies attack, right? So for example, a really easy one is LeBlanc's champion spell, Reputation I cost 1. So if we attack with a 5+ attack unit 4 times, it can be on attack or defense, right? As long as it strikes 4 times, we get the Reputation effect. So this can cost 1, and that's really good. So we definitely want LeBlanc for that. She has quick attack, so she's really good on attack 3. If we float 1 mana, we can protect her with Elixir of Iron. Really good in general. Her level up says, I've seen you deal 15 damage. So that's 3 strikes with 5 attack allies. That's pretty good. When I level up, create Mirror Image. Mirror Image is also really cool. It's a 2 mana slow speed spell. Summon an exact ephemeral copy of an ally with 5+ attack, and you get some pretty crazy combos. You can get extra LeBlancs, you can get extra Ashes, you can get extra Averosian Hearthguards. You know, anything with an on-summon effect or anything with like an attack effect is really good. So yeah, Mirror Image just gives you a big unit. You can attack with it, you can block with it, and then just use it as pressure. For 2 mana, I mean, it's just really good. And she creates more and more, you know, if you keep doing the damage, so really nice. Alright, moving on to Reckless Triferian, 3 mana 5/4, can't block. So the 5 attack is what we really care about. It synergizes with the rest of the deck, it synergizes with the reputation cards, so obviously we're going to run that and beat some people down with it. It's a really big unit, it's going to get multiple swings off, and yeah, it's really scary. The opponent has to respect it. Next we have Ashe. Ashe, on attack, frostbite the strongest enemy, so really good attack call. She levels up if you've reduced the power of 4 enemies to 0 over the course of the game. She can level up in deck and then be summoned already leveled, and that's really good. Also, when she levels up, she creates a Crystal Arrow on top of the deck. Crystal Arrow is this card right here, 2 mana slow speed spell, frostbite an enemy and all other enemies with 3 or less health, draw 1. So you get the card back for playing it, you know, quick little draw 1. Also AoE frostbite, which is really important because of the clause in her leveled up form. It says enemies with 0 power can't block. So you want to set up a bunch of attackers, especially your big 5 attack units, and then Crystal Arrow, just AoE frostbite the enemy board. None of them can block, and then you swing for a lot of damage, right? That's kind of the main goal of the deck, and it's really good. It's really scary. Moving on to Bloody Business. 4 mana spell, reputation, I cost 2. So again, if you strike 4 times with the 5+ damage units, you can make this cost 2, and that's really good to get that discount. An ally with 5+ power strikes an enemy. So it's like single combat, especially when it's reputation, it's even better because you're doing the striking, but your unit is not taking damage back. So Bloody Business is really good at dealing with pesky, high value units that the opponent wants to develop, champions and stuff like that. We can use Bloody Business to just kill them outright. Really, really good card. Next we have Trifarian Assessor. This is one of the cards that you want to hit with Omen Hawk, and that's because her effect, when I'm summoned, draw 1 for each 5+ power ally you have, can apply to herself. So if she has 5+ power from being buffed from Omen Hawk, you will get the +1 draw from her. So that's really cool. So if you have the Reckless Trifarians out, you have LeBlanc out, you have Ashe out, you play Assessor, you get to draw like a lot. You get to draw like 3 or 4 or 5 cards sometimes, right? And that gets you like more utility, more frostbiting, really good big refill card to use in the mid and late game. Next we have Triple Averrosion Hearthguard. When I'm summoned, grant all allies in your deck +1/+1. This isn't epic, but I'm pretty sure for the 7-day login bonus, you're given like 1 or 2 Hearthguards. So if you shell out the 3rd epic, you have this guy. Really good, really nice, especially since it's Omen Hawk, but it hits everything, not just the top 2 or top 3. This is a really, really good card at trying to get your pressure out, you know, turn 5 onwards. Really good. Next we have 2 Harsh Winds, 5 mana burst speed spell, frostbite 2 enemies of choice. Really good, you know, 5 mana, frostbite 2. Nice at turbo leveling Ashe, nice at making sure units can't block if Ashe is already leveled. Just really good overall. You can use it aggressively, defensively. Very, very high value card. And to round out the list, we have Incisive Tactician, 8 mana 5/5, reputation, I cost 6. So if you get the reputation off, 6 mana card. When I'm summoned, a rally. So you get a 5/5 body and also a rally. So just like with the last deck, we get to attack multiple times a turn. This is game winning in this deck. If you're already set up and you have Ashe up, you have the enemies frostbitten after you're attacking. If you're attacking a second time, you just win the game. So yeah, this is when I'm summoned, win the game is what this should be reworded to. Super strong. A final card that I want to talk about before I get into the example game is Reckoning. So if you have the epic wildcards for Reckoning, I highly recommend running this at 2 or 3 of. A very simple replacement in this deck would be get rid of the double flash freeze and put in 2 Reckoning, and then you're good to go. This is a really, really good card at just blowing out the game. It's a 1-card win con if it resolves versus a lot of decks. If the opponent has hard developed like 3 or 4 units and you resolve Reckoning and kill them all, you basically win. So yeah, this is definitely worth running. I highly recommend if you're interested in this deck at all, definitely spend the epic wildcards and get this card as soon as possible. But for now, since we are playing the budget version, I will take it back out and put in the double flash freeze. But yeah, make sure you get the Reckoning ASAP. And that's it for the deck rundown. Now here's a live commentary game so you can see how it plays out. And for the example game, we have Swain Annie control. So yeah, we're definitely going to want Elixir of Iron because that's a nice HP boost to their removal. We don't really want the Tactician or Assessor in opening hand. We like to draw into them later and then use them, you know, whenever it's convenient. So this is a pretty nice opener. We can do Elixir of Iron on our LeBlanc, try to keep her safe, attack with her on 4. Just overall kind of nice. Early Iceveil Archer, float 1. Yeah, this looks good. This is pretty playable. Our attack 4 is looking like the scariest amount of pressure that we can pull off with this hand. Double Elixir of Iron. So yeah, we're going to be very protected. Early Watchful Idol. As we know, that's good at leveling Swain. That's like half a Swain level if it goes all the way through. I think we should probably pass. I like saving double Elixir of Iron mana, so I'm probably not going to Iceveil Archer here. Raven Bloom, that's okay. I want to set up LeBlanc into Ashe probably, right? That's the best we can do. Yep. So let's set up LeBlanc.
Places to go. People
We have 3 mana, and we have 3 utility cards, all costing 1. So that is really good. Our hand kind of works out really nicely for us. Let's go ahead and play Ashe.
I will unite the Freljord.
If we get both strikes in, that's already halfway to our reputation. What is that? What are you going to try to do to me? A combination of spells. Disintegrates and Pirouette. Stun, deal 1. That is kind of annoying. We can't really stop it in any way, so I guess we just resolve this, and we lose our Ashe. Disintegrate plus Pirouette. Really good combo there. Because even if we try to buff our HP of our Ashe, she still dies to the Disintegrate Execute. Heavy Metal, well, we can obviously protect from that. Quick and easy. Elixir of Iron, no biggie. And then we can play Icefell Archer, Frostbite that for the turn. That way we can deter the attack, take less damage. And go into Reckless Triferian. That looks pretty good. It's a 5/5 tentacle. Let's go ahead and open attack. Usually you want to attack with LeBlanc on the right. It's a pretty good habit, unless you're manipulating her level up. Just basically keep in mind that she can level during combat and when she's going to be leveling, so always make sure you attack with LeBlanc properly. Here it's fine to just put her on the far right. A little bit of a swing, that's chill. We can finish that off with Sigil of Malice and be pretty happy. Romaine. Yeah, let's go ahead and do Bloody Business 5/4 3/5. And that will level LeBlanc. That's already kind of good enough. Let's do that. We don't have to Elixir of Iron because we will be doing 5 damage here.
I whisper truth into lies.
Yep, that levels our LeBlanc for us. And then we can do Sigil of Malice if we want, or we can just do Brittle Steel on it next turn since it will have 3 HP. Let's play Assessor for draw.
You earn the right to call themselves Triferian.
Yep, some extra draw cards goes a long way. Parley, sure. Running Parley is pretty interesting. That means our hand could be just like a bunch of cheap removal remaining. 6/3 Tentacle, okay. Leviathan. What can we do about that? We can't really buff our dudes too much. How about we do LeBlanc?
Time to make an appearance.
LeBlanc is pretty fine. They're attacking, which is interesting. So let's do Brittle Steel. Block with our LeBlanc.
Useless pawn.
And we can also block the Assessor to the Leviathan, putting it at 3, which means we can kill it through Bloody Business. Love that. Since we got our reputation off, it is cheaper. Let's go ahead and pick our higher HP unit. It shouldn't matter too much, but yeah, they won't be able to intercept it, I don't think. Yep. We're gonna play Omen Hawk. Pass. They can only play Swain or Tybulk this turn. I'm not really scared of either. Let's just go ahead and play Ashe.
Faster than my arrow? I think not.
And then we can actually mirror image the Ashe, get 2 attack calls, and we level Ashe, and the opponent can't block, and we win the game. Very nice. And that's it for this one. I wanted this to be a great follow-up to my last 3 standard decks for beginners video. I'm happy that I got to showcase some more champions like Ashe and Zed, while sharing some familiar faces with new playstyles in the form of Misfortune, Swain, and Lucian. And that's it for this one. Please like and subscribe if you thought this video was informative or entertaining. It really helps me out. I'll be releasing more deck profiles, guides, gameplay highlights, and meta reports in the near future. Thank you so much for watching and have a good one. Laters!